Sports fans, come on down to Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub for one of the best dining experiences around. Great food, an awesome staff, and amazing atmosphere is waiting for you just minutes from Xcel Energy Center on West 7th in St. Paul. Whether you're watching a game, attending a concert, or just out for a good time, Tom's is the place to be. Enjoy twofers during all live Minnesota Wild games, Viking games, and Packer games. Now serving breakfast on Sundays until 2 p.m. While dining, check out the collection of over 400 pieces of hockey memorabilia. Having a get-together? Let them cater your event. They have room for you in their newly remodeled back bar with extra parking in their brand-new parking lot. It's Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub. Give them a call, 651-292-9916. That's 651-292-9916 to schedule your next event. And check them out on the web at tomreeds.com. And if you see Tom, don't mention Ken Dryden.
Hello, once again. We are back for episode 3, the Sieve and the Scribe podcast, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine. I am Dan Myers from Wild.com, and joining me, as always, Kevin Gorg from Valley Sports North. Good day, Kevin. How are you?
Very good, Dan. It's a great week ahead. Hockey Day, Minnesota. I know you're excited to get down to Mankato. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. We didn't get to celebrate our wonderful hockey holiday last year with the pandemic, and just so excited to have our favorite day of the year play out at Blakesley Stadium this weekend. So it's a great week. The weather's beautiful. It's going to get a little chillier, which I don't mind because that's part of the ambiance of the event, and just really looking forward to getting down to Mankato.
We've got a meaty show ahead of us here today. Hashtag meaty show. Kevin, we are going to chat a little Wild here. Plenty to unpack from a great game last night. As we record this here on Tuesday afternoon, last night in Denver, the Wild getting a point against the speedy and always dangerous Colorado Avalanche, navigating their way through a stretch of games since the Winter Classic, capturing 7 of a possible 8 points with as many as 9 guys out of the lineup a couple games ago. We'll unpack all that. A whole bunch of Hockey Day chatter here as we, again, are just a couple of days away from one of my favorite days of the year. I know it's one of your favorite days of the year as well, Hockey Day Minnesota, which has morphed into more of a Hockey Day week in Minnesota. It seems to get bigger and bigger every year, which is awesome. And then we're going to take a couple of Twitter comments and we'll banter back and forth about some of the things that happened last night. But first, Kevin, just overall here, a good stretch of hockey for the Wild. Again, capturing 7 of a possible 8 points. And I think maybe the most impressive part about this, other than the fact that they've done it without the likes of, at various points during this streak, Jonas Brodin, Jared Spurgeon, Kirill Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson, Cam Talbot, Nick Bugstad, Alex Goligoski. You go on and on and on down the line. They've done it against 4 teams, Kevin, that have their eyes set on the playoffs. If they're not inside the playoffs right now, I guess I haven't looked at the standings today. I probably could have done a little better job prepping. I think Boston may not be in the playoffs, but they've got a million games in hand at this point. They're going to get to the postseason. We all know that. 4 teams sitting inside that playoff bubble. Teams like Washington, Colorado, who are some of the very best teams in the league. And Minnesota's managed to stay afloat during this stretch where it would have been really easy to make some excuses and lose some games and really kind of lose ground in a Central Division that's playing really well right now.
Yeah, we left the Winter Classic, and Cam Talbot was added to the injured list, and they had lost or not had a win in 5 games, 0-4-1, and you're missing half your roster, and here comes this difficult stretch of the schedule, as you mentioned. I think there are a couple silver linings. Number one, the games were spread out, and so they weren't playing every other night. And even though they were tough opponents, you could game plan for those opponents. And then I guess the depth of this organization has kind of, shown through here. I mean, Matt Baldi looks like a player that's never going back to the American Hockey League. He's 20 years old, and he looks like a fixture right now. He probably wouldn't have had this opportunity if the Wild were completely healthy. It would have happened at some point, yes, but it happened sooner because of this. And then you look at some of the players on the blue line that are getting valuable NHL experience, starting with Kalen Addison. This is huge for those players as well. And then another layer of this would be the players that are there as mainstays, the Jordy Benns, the John Merrills, the Dmitry Kulikovs have all really stepped up. I mean, you know what you're going to get from Matt Dumba, but you've been missing 3 of your top 4. Goligoski just got back yesterday. He's missed a chunk of time. I'm super impressed and really can't say enough about the coaching staff and the organization right now just to be where they are. A couple of years ago, this never would have happened. If they would have been missing half their roster, they would have lost all 4 games. They got 7 out of 8 points. I couldn't be more impressed.
You look at you and I last night, late in that game in Denver, watched the last 5 minutes or so of regulation, the overtime, and we commented just how impressed we were quietly about the game that John Merrill had and the string of games and really the whole season that John Merrill has put together, a guy who the Wild signed to a 1-year deal, veteran minimum contract, I think was expected to come in here and be a 7th defenseman, kind of compete for that 6th spot with a guy like Jordy Ben or Kalen Addison. He has been quite the find for this team. Needless to say, they've already extended him to the tune of a 3-year contract that will keep him here for 3 more years after this season. So that tells you everything that you need to know about what the Wild thinks of John Merrill and the kind of season he's had and beyond all the stuff that he brings on the ice. That guy is an absolute beauty. He fits in perfectly in this locker room. What a signing by Billy Guerin in the front office.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm a big hockey fan. I'm pretty avid when it comes to the National Hockey League. I wasn't overly familiar with his game, and when he was signed, I'm like you. I thought, well, he might be in and out of the press box. He's a depth guy. I underestimated what this guy could bring on the ice. Didn't know him off the ice, and I've been thoroughly impressed with both. I mean, on the ice, he's rock solid. He'll kill a penalty. He blocks shots. He plays with grit. You can put him anywhere you want in terms of those deep partnerships, whether it's the top pairing or the third pairing. He seems to bring the same game every single night. And then off the ice, as you mentioned, he's found a real niche in that locker room. And I think it started when they rotated through barking out the starting lineup. And he had a way with that. And the players really feed off him. And he's got the fun mustache. And he looks like Larry Bird. I go back to the Halloween party the team had and some of the pictures that came out of that and how he embraced that situation. There's something about this group, and everybody's kind of found their spot in that locker room. And you watch these guys like you and I do on the airplane, at the practice rink, at the facility, around the Excel Center. I can tell you right now, it's never been quite like this. There just seems to be a cohesiveness and an enjoyment that this group has brought together. And I think Merrill's a big part of it. So the extension it cannot be understated. And I think the role players on this team also cannot be understated. There are a handful of guys that you don't really, hear the headlines and see the highlights, but they are making a huge difference. And he's certainly one of them.
Reason I bring up John Merrill, a good segue here. He's one of those guys to me, and I mentioned this to you last night, and I think you agreed. Reminds me of a former Wild defenseman who recently retired, who is joining our show. We had a conversation with him. Nate Prosser will be on the show today, a week after announcing his retirement, former Hockey Day hero. The timing is perfect, but John Merrill has a lot of Nate Prosser to him, both on the ice and off the ice, a guy who's surrounded by beautiful women in his life at home with 4 daughters and a wife, someone who's got a little personality, who's a locker room favorite with his teammates, but a guy that isn't going to put up huge numbers in the score column. But when you think about these games and you watch these games, like last night in Denver, for example, and you look at it and you go, gosh, I haven't really thought much about John Merrill. That usually means he's having a good game. And that was the same thing that you always used to say about Nate Prosser, is if you weren't saying his name and you weren't thinking about Nate Prosser, that usually meant he had a pretty good game. And it's a pretty good quality to have when you play that style on the blue line.
Yeah, it really is. And any coach will tell you, you don't need 20 superstars. You're not going to win with 20 superstars. You need the right guys to play the right role. And Nate Prosser was that guy. And John Merrill, I think it's a great comparison. I think they have a lot of the same attributes. They are team first guys. They are fun guys off the ice who bring a passion to the rink, that go on the ice and will do whatever it takes to win. And if they're not getting the minutes that they want, they won't complain. They won't pout, because they're there for their teammates. And, you look at the way Dean Evison and that coaching staff has put this team together. You mentioned Bill Guerin and the scouting staff and what they look for. The Wild put themselves, by their own doing, in a tough spot, up against the salary cap and the buyouts with Suter and Parise. We all know about it. It's old news now. But if you were going to make this work, you needed a couple things to happen. And one of them was you're going to have to find some good valued price defensemen that could fill a role, because you're paying an awful lot of money to your star players on the blue line. I'm talking about Spurgeon. I'm talking about Brody. I'm talking about Dumba. Even Goligoski fits that mold. You need those other guys to play a role and play well. He's done that. The other thing that the Wild needed, they needed some of their younger guys to step up this year. It had to happen this year. And here comes Matt Baldi. And I mean, it's a developing story, but leaving that rink yesterday, I think, reaffirmed what you and I have been talking about for the last week. My God, is Matt Baldi a good hockey player? This kid at age 20 is doing things I didn't think he was capable of this year. I thought he had potential to do these things, and he and Kevin Fiala have found a lot of what Zuccarello and Kaprizov have had now for a couple of seasons. Whether they can maintain that or not, we don't know, but it sure looks like they've got something cooking.
I remember on draft night 2019, I was in Vancouver. You were at home watching the draft. We were trading text messages as Minnesota came up to this. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Me too.
Cole Caulfield was on the board, the Wisconsin Badger, native
he was flashy,
of,
man.
Native of Stevens Point. Yep. And it was, us being upper Midwest guys, I think, we either follow the Wisconsin, Twitter account, or we follow people that follow the University of Wisconsin a lot closer than maybe BC. And we were both so excited because we thought Caulfield to the Wild was a done deal. It drafted Baldi, and we were certainly, I think, open-minded about it, but we just didn't know as much. I mean, we don't have his highlights coming across our Twitter feeds constantly. And now, after getting a chance to kind of watch him develop both at BC, at the World Junior Tournament last year, playing in the national tournament, and now seeing some of these highlights as he's arrived in Iowa and watching him these first 4 games in the National Hockey League, I wouldn't trade him for anything. I think in terms of trading those two, I think Matt Baldi was absolutely the right call. I think he fits in perfectly with Kevin Fiala. Their games mesh together so well. We saw it again last night on that huge goal by Kevin Fiala, just a few seconds into the second period, a goal that really changed the momentum of that game. Matt Baldi does little things that don't always show up in terms of being able to take a defenseman with him, create space for a guy like Kevin Fiala. And when a guy like Fiala with his speed and his skill has open room on the ice and he has that space, that makes him a better player, and it makes this team a better team when he's able to do things like put the puck in the net, which is what he's paid to do on this club.
Yeah, Baldi's got that innate hockey sense that you crave, that he just knows how to open things up for his teammates like Fiala. He knows where to go without the puck. He can play with grit. He's got the intangibles. And, I can't stress enough how young this kid is. I mean, he was playing college hockey a year ago. He's 20 freaking years old. And so we're just scraping the surface. I'm excited. Again, I've been doing this since 2006, covering the team for Fox Sports North then. Now it's Bally Sports North. I cannot remember a time when top to bottom I was more excited about this organization, from the GM to the coaching staff to the team to the depth of talent to Iowa to the prospects to the draft picks. I mean, you and I are salivating in fantasy hockey over trying to make a trade with Ryan Carter to get the Jesper goaltender Wallstedt out of Sweden. I mean, this is such a great time right now to be a fan of this hockey team, and we're so blessed to cover them. Who knows where this is going, but I have never felt more confident about the future of the Minnesota Wild than I do sitting here right now.
This is the Sieve and the Scribe podcast, episode 3, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine. We've got a lot to unpack here today. We're going to talk a little bit more Wild later in the show when we have our fan interaction segment here. We got a couple of hot talkers to get to, but we want to get to Hockey Day Minnesota, some conversation there, and we'll do that after a word from our sponsors.
The Functional Neurology Center is a Minnetonka-based clinic staffed by a caring and progressive team of chiropractic neurologists who are experienced in treating post-concussion syndrome, chronic pain, dizziness, whiplash, migraine, and performance enhancement. They are the concussion doctors that you can trust for your comprehensive brain health in Minnesota and who have helped many local professional hockey players that include Mark Parrish, Brock Nelson, Zach Parisi, and Tyler Nanny. The FNC combines innovative technological therapies with manual therapy to improve human function.
My name is Mark Parrish, and I played hockey for 15 years and professionally, and I had some concussions, some head issues. We heard about Dr. Schmo, and we're certainly glad I did, because the difference from not just session to session during the day, but from day to day has been drastic. And just with suffering from sleep depravity for years, the last 3-4 nights I've slept like a baby and slept again like I did before I had kids, for crying out loud.
You can find them online at thefnc.com.
And we're back, Sieve and the Scribe, episode 3, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine. Kevin, Hockey Day Minnesota, as we said at the top, it's morphed into more of a hockey week Minnesota. I know they've had that rink set up at Blakesley Stadium down at Mankato for several days now. And the cool part about this whole event, obviously we'll see Mankato and Minnesota State University on display on Valley Sports North on Saturday. There's a whole schedule of events starting Wednesday, themed events. I know Wednesday is Hockey for Her. They're going to have a number of different games and events surrounding girls and women's hockey in that area that will be headlined by Mankato East versus Mankato West girls under the lights at 7 o'clock. I'm looking forward to that. But these first couple of days, it's been billed, and I've seen tons of pictures on social media. Anyone in the community that plays hockey that wants a chance to go out there has had an opportunity to get out there, whether it's the Mites, Squirts, A, B, C, beer league men's teams. Anyone that's wanted a chance to go skate on this service has had an opportunity. It's been so cool to see all the pictures and everything like that coming from the hockey community as a whole, as it's really been allowed to come together here over the last few days, and as it will continue to over the next week or so. Yeah,
to me, as this event has evolved, it started back in 2007 up in Baudette Bay. It's about the community and how they rally together. And we're as much showing off Mankato as we are talking about the game of hockey. And I know they put a lot of time in. And there was one particular picture I saw on social media today that was from a drone above Blakesley Stadium. And I got chills looking at it. I could not believe how beautiful that whole area looks. And it's going to play out like it always does, with some magic involved. And to have a whole week long celebration, to have a Hockey Day Village, and to have the concerts and the banquets and everything around it, where everybody that's been a part of the fabric of hockey in Mankato can touch that spot and be a part of it. We're making memories here, and that's what we're trying to do. And Saturday, when the big lights are on and the cameras are rolling, I get it. That's the big Hockey Day event, but it goes all the way through Sunday. And so if fans are looking for a fun winter activity with the family, you can get down there any day right now and all the way through Sunday and see some fantastic hockey, a beautiful setting, have a Hockey Day beer, which I was lucky enough to get some shipped to me here in the last couple of days. And the beer lovers in my family say it's terrific. Listen, this is what it's all about, man. Celebrate the game, celebrate the event. We're very proud of it, and we should be here in Minnesota, because this is one of those days like Christmas, where it's a holiday you look forward to once a year.
In terms of the day itself, Kevin, you've been doing this now for a long time. What is your favorite part about just the concept of Hockey Day Minnesota?
For me, it's the players that play on that stage and hearing the stories behind the scenes, that they've got a grandma and grandpa in Arizona, or an aunt and uncle in Dallas. And we've heard these stories year after year where they get to play on the same network where the Wild play, and their family and friends around North America can tune in and watch them. And those are the things that make you smile. And when you get to the actual site and you talk to the people, the volunteers that have been there to set the rink up, and one of the men or women pulls you aside and shows you how they did this and tells you about the village and what they've got available here and some of the different food items and souvenirs that are available. To me, it's such a melting pot of people from all different backgrounds, that some have played the game, some have been parents of players, some have had relatives that played at the highest level, most have just kids that played at the lowest level, and it doesn't matter. They love hockey, and for this week, they love their community, and they want to show it all off. And, we've talked to enough Wild players where at the highest level, these guys are tuning in. Like in the morning when we come on the air at 9 o'clock, like the Wild players are changing their routine on game day to see what it's going to look like and feel like. And there's a different energy and a buzz wherever you go on hockey day. If you're in Minnesota, if you're lucky enough to be at the event or at a Wild game that day, it's special. And I think it grows every year. And I think this year might be the best edition yet.
I think my favorite part, Kevin, this whole event has been around long enough now. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is year 14 or 15. It might be year 15 kind of event 14 because unfortunately, COVID pandemic last year was kind of an abbreviated event. But we've got guys on the Wild roster right now with Kyle Rao and Nick Bukestad, who actually played on Hockey Day in high school. And that's cool. That's great. Those are fun stories to tell. They played on it in high school. They played on it in college with the University of Minnesota, and now they play on it here with the Wild. But we're reaching the evolution of this event now where kids who were at these events, and we talked to one of them in our last episode. If you haven't gone back and listened to our podcast episode 2 with Ryan Sandlin from Minnesota State, when Hockey Day was in Hermantown in, I guess I don't remember what year it had been, 2000. You have the
2010.
2010. Eden Prairie was in that event. I believe Kyle Rao played in that as a member of the Eden Prairie Eagles. Baby Ryan Sandlin was there as a mite or a peewee. I had a chance when I went to Mankato to set up some stories for Wild.com. I talked to their captain, Minnesota State captain Wyatt Ahmet, another Hermantown guy who was at that event as a kid. And, they're on the periphery. They're just there watching. At the time, their heroes are the guys wearing the Hermantown Hawks uniforms, the high school players that a couple of years from that point, they would go on. And you just have, in their heads that they're dreaming, gosh, that'd be cool to one day play on an event like this, knowing that it may not happen because chances are, Hermantown's probably not getting a Hockey Day till long after they're gone. But you know what? Now it's in Mankato, and now they have an opportunity. Those two guys, once upon a time, sat in the stands in Hermantown, and now they're going to get a chance to play on Hockey Day in Mankato. Who knows where their careers will bring them from here. Hopefully they'll go on to long professional careers. Maybe they'll get to play on Hockey Day again. But those are some of the stories. Seeing the opportunity that these kids had dreaming as 8, 9, 10-year-olds, now getting a chance to play on it as 19, 20, 21-year-olds. That's cool stuff.
It is. It's really become something special. I don't think anybody back in 2007, when this whole thing started, and it was, Fox Sports North at the time and the Minnesota Wild kind of putting their ideas pen to paper and hoping for the best. I don't think anybody in a million years could have seen how this event would grow. And every year, I think, you see things you like, and every community kind of picks and chooses. And, this year, the group that's going to have it next year is already going to be there to kind of soak it all up and see how it plays out. But it seems to get smarter and better and bigger every single year. And who knows where it's going. But honestly, it's the one day where everybody at our company has their fingerprints on this event. Every single person in our Bally Sports office has a role to play. And it's exciting because it brings us together as one. And we're always in different pockets. Go for hockey, Wolves, Twins, Wild. But this is the one day where everybody's together on one page. And it ends up just being spectacular. It's 9 a.m. till midnight. It's a Saturday where you just look so much forward to seeing how it's going to be embraced by that local community. And this year, seeing the folks in Mankato, you and I have been lucky enough to be down there a couple times leading up to this. I can honestly tell you, I've never had more confidence that it's going to be an absolute home run. They have done everything just the way you'd hope they'd do it. And they've got such a strong group behind them as far as volunteers go that it's going to play out well.
The fun part about this production too, Kevin, is every single year, whoever has it the next year or 2 years down the line, usually there's an idea of, what's coming down the hopper. And even if they don't have it, or if they haven't been told they have it, they're maybe a part of a group that's bidding for it. So they're going to go and check out all of these events. I know the team that has put together this Mankato event was very obviously in Minneapolis because they were announced way back in January of 2020 as the next host. It was delayed a year because of the pandemic. But Mike Hastings was on site in St. Cloud back in 2019. And that was really where he, was kind of shoved into, we have to find a way to get this to Mankato. These folks have seen the buildup. They've gone through and they've seen what every evolution of this has been. And there's going to be some firsts this time in Mankato for people that are annual visitors that like to go see this in person. One, in terms of the schedule, and I'll do a rundown of some of the events we have coming, but this will be the first time that a Division I men's game will be played on Hockey Day outside as part of the main schedule. Minnesota State will play St. Thomas at 4:30 on Saturday outside in front of a statewide audience. It's going to be a great event. As a Maverick fan, I'm very much looking forward to that, Kevin, and we'll maybe get into some side wagering here in a moment. But this is going to be a stadium series type event. I know normally you go when we were in Minneapolis, St. Cloud, Bemidji the last few years, Stillwater was a great setting. You might get 1,200, 1,500 people in the stands there on site. There's upwards of 16, 17,000 tickets sold for the Thursday through Saturday portion of this event. So you're talking about 5,000, 6,000 people potentially attending all or some of these events, including the big time day on Saturday. And I can't imagine what that's going to be like, bringing in 3 to 4 times as many people as we've seen in years past. It's going to be something that's incredible and something that sets the bar high for the next Hockey Day and the Hockey Day after that. And that's going to be the fun part, is to see how those communities now try and capture some of what Mankato's doing.
Yeah, and the bottom line is it's a big party. It's a hockey party is what it is. Whether you're in Mankato or you're back at home on your outdoor rink and you've got the games on TV, it becomes a hockey party day. And, I've got sisters who have kids that play, and they have a party every single year on Hockey Day. They watch the event. They take the kids outside. They've got the fire pit going. That's, to me, what really defines this day more than anything else. You can be there, and it's special if you are. You're lucky if you get to be wherever Hockey Day is that particular day. But you can really be a part of it no matter what, because everybody seems to find their spot and turn it into a hockey celebration like a holiday. It's no different. If you love hockey as much as most people like us do, it becomes kind of like Christmas, where it brings family and friends together. There's a meal, there's a celebration, and there's a lot of conversation of stories of hockey gone by, whether it's your career, your kids' careers, tournaments, travel, all that. It all comes out on Hockey Day. And so embrace it, enjoy it. It's the 1 week out of the year where we get to do this and look forward to it. And I think it's going to be a special, special weekend ahead.
A rundown of some of the events we have coming up Wednesday, kind of the official kickoff in terms of the local organizing committee starting events. Hockey is for her. Mankato Area Hockey Association girls teams 10 through 12 will be playing at 5 and 6. The night will be capped by East versus West girls. I know in talking to ladies from both teams and coaches from both teams last week, they're really looking forward to that. We'll have a good story on that on wild.com coming up here later today. Thursday is going to be community night. The Minnesota Warriors are going to be in action. Disabled veterans of the United States military, always a great program. That'll be a lot of fun. A Southern Minnesota celebrity game. We'll see about that. I'm sure they'll have plenty of fun with some of the crew they have coming in there. Friday night, it is themed Friday Night Lights, and appropriately so. It's going to have a very high school football-like flavor. East versus West boys will be on the ice at 5:30, and it will be capped by the Minnesota State University men's alumni game, one of the events I'm maybe looking forward to most. Our guy, Ryan Carter, the Bird, he will be back in town. David Backus, Tim Jackman, assortment of stars will be on the ice. Saturday, of course, the big event that will be televised to a statewide national audience. Some great games, actually, Kevin, on that day. Going to start with the girls and the high school girls, 9:30 a.m. Andover and Edina, two of the top women's programs in the state, not only this year, but over the past several years. Going to be a great one. High school boys take to the ice at 1 o'clock, East Grand Forks versus Prior Lake, and what'll be another good matchup. St. Thomas versus Minnesota State at 4:30, and then after that, from St. Paul, the Wild and Chicago Blackhawks. But it doesn't end there. Hockey Sunday, the Minnesota State women and the St. Thomas women take center stage. The MSU alumni will be playing their women's game at 11 a.m., and the Tommies and Mavericks will drop the puck at 1 o'clock. All of this at Blakesley Stadium. Don't forget the Minnesota Mullets. They will be on the ice as well against the Steele County Blades at 4 p.m. as kind of the official wrap-up of everything there on site. Kevin, it's going to be a ton of fun. I know you've had a chance to kind of prep and talk to some of these coaches. What's kind of been the overarching thought here as we approach Hockey Day?
I think all the coaches have had to fight the good battle to keep their players from looking too far ahead. And, they're all in the middle of big games throughout the season. Last weekend, I see Prior Lake has a big game tonight as we record this on Tuesday. Right now, they're close enough to it where the players are all, no doubt, having 1 foot towards Mankato, and coaches trying to bring them back to the reality of we got to play the games this week, and then we can get the hockey day. Just the excitement level, getting down there Friday. Some of the teams will be practicing on the rink outdoors, the luncheon, settling into the weekend. It's just it's been such a buildup this year because we didn't get to have hockey day in its normal state last year that I think that from the people that put the production together in our TV truck, like John Stroh and director Matt Gangle, to all the people around the company, to the coaches, to everybody, there's an anticipation that I think is palpable right now. And I think, God willing, we can get everybody down there healthy, have great weather. And you mentioned that the crowds are going to be spectacular. So right now it's just a matter of, I think, these teams playing their final couple of games here in the next night or two, and then just soak it all up and make memories, because to me, that's what hockey day is all about.
The weather forecast is going to be chilly. If you're heading down there Wednesday or Thursday, highs in the low single digits, so bundle up. Things start to look up a little bit on Friday. It's looking like about 14 degrees. And Saturday, it's been hovering right around 15 to 20 degrees with partly cloudy skies. So if we can get that thing up to 15, 20 degrees, that would be perfect. That'd be ideal weather. And it's going to be just an incredible event. Again, I know in talking to so many of my people down in that part of the state, they have been looking forward to this for a long, long time. And Kevin, I've been talking to you about this for 5 years now. I have literally not looked forward to something in my entire career more than I'm looking forward to. And I know I'm biased, but I love Hockey Day, and the fact that it's going to be in my town, in Mankato, and featuring my teams and my people, it's really going to be a lot of fun. We've got some fan interaction here, and we will get to that after a word from our sponsors.
The Sieve and the Scribe want to thank one of our founding sponsors, Tim Cortez Studio, for supplying the artwork for our podcast. Cortez is a famed artist and former Gopher goaltender whose work is prominently displayed on the exterior of Duluth's Heritage Sports Center in a series of 20-foot by 34-foot banners representing commitment, dedication, courage, honor, hard work, teamwork, integrity, and sportsmanship. Check out his art at www.timcortez.net. That's TIMCORTES.net, or follow Tim Cortez Studio on Facebook, where you can find commission work for the United States Hockey Hall of Fame and the UMD Bulldogs championship teams. Email timcortezstudios@gmail.com for more information.
Hey, pal, you already know that CrankyApe.com is the coolest auction site on the web for everything that rolls, floats, or has an engine. But did you know we'll also sell your toys for you? Why deal with sketchy characters, tire kickers, and no-shows when you can have the ape do it? It's a heck of a lot easier, and if you're not built like me, a lot safer too. Just go to CrankyApe.com and click on the blue burst. I'll take it from there. CrankyApe.com. Why monkey around anywhere else?
We are back, the Sieve and the Scribe, episode 3. We've got Nate Prosser coming up. We are presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine, by the way. And a special thank you to our producer, Zach Halverson, who always does a great job. Dan Myers here with Kevin Gord. And Kevin, we teased it a little bit earlier. I wanted to talk with you about it, and apparently so does John DeCosmaker, our guy, the Wild Anthem singer. We sent out a request for some questions, and I thought he had one tweet with couple pretty good ones, and I wanted to get your take on them because I stood next to you for one of them. The other one I didn't. Let's start with the one where I wasn't near you. Last night in Colorado, Ryan Hartman, gutsy shot block. Believe it was it second period? Gutsy shot block, lays in front of it, blocks the shot. He goes down, and the puck is underneath him, and you've got half a dozen guys shoveling him with the blades of their sticks, guys jumping over him. Anyway, referee doesn't blow the whistle until he calls Ryan Hartman for a delay of game penalty. Your thoughts on the penalty? Penalty or no penalty? Your opinion?
Well, I thought it was a 50-50, a coin flipper, as we like to say, because the letter of the law states that you got to try to move the puck. I get that. And Hartman was in such a dangerous spot, being that he was right in the lower slot there, and with 3 or 4 Avalanche poking and prodding, he figured if he got up and was able to let that puck kind of drop back onto the ice, he's in a bad spot to protect do his job in front of the cage. And now you've given up a grade A scoring chance. So I understand where he's coming from. I understand where the officials are coming from, but there had to be some communication involved. I wasn't down there on the ice. I don't know what was said, but I thought the call could have gone either way. What were your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to go. In real time, I thought it was a bad call. And I'm going to preface that by saying I work for the Wild. So I need to preface this opinion by saying this is my opinion. I am not speaking for anyone with the Wild, the organization, any coach, GM. This is my opinion. I did not think it was a penalty. And my opinion was backed up later by a fan. I should have taken his name, who sent me the rule book. You ready, Kevin? I'm going to quote the rule book, 63, Rule 63.2, subsection 5. On a player other than the goalkeeper who deliberately falls on or blocks the puck with his body. You ready? Any player who drops to his knees to block a shot should not be penalized if the puck is shot under him or becomes lodged in his clothing or equipment, but any use of hands to make the puck unplayable should be a penalized play. Now, he did not use his hands. He blocked the shot. Now, he didn't make much of an effort. I get it. He looked kind of like a knucklehead there, kind of just sitting there. But the bottom line for me, Kevin, is the puck is underneath him. Blow the whistle. Take the draw in the corner, and let's move on with the night. Let's not sit there and let guys – it's a safety issue first and foremost. If Hartman gets up and you've got 6 stick blades under there jamming away at the puck, his midsection is in danger at that point. His face, which does not have anything more than a half shield on it, is in danger. On top of all the other stuff in terms of the scoring chances, I thought it was a questionable call at best. Luckily, Colorado does not score on the power play, so it ended up not really mattering in the grand scheme. But I did not agree with the call. Now, I was next to you for this one. 3.5 minutes left in the game. Nathan MacKinnon comes down, finishes off a 2-on-1. Ruled no goal on the ice. Make all the assumptions you want. I know where you stand on this because you and I debated it in real time, 25 feet from the scene of the crime. Give me your thoughts. Goal or no goal in the eyes of Kevin Gorg?
I thought it was a goal when I watched it, with my own eyes up against the glass where we were to the left of the net. And then there was some confusion as to where the puck was. And I think the reason that I will say it was a bad call by the National Hockey League is because the officials on the ice never saw the puck cross the ice. And when they talked to Dean Evison, admitted as much, that they never saw the puck over the goal line. The call was made in Toronto. And my question is the same question Dean Evison had after the game. If that's the case, and nobody saw the puck over the line, you cannot assume, even though logic would tell you when we saw the scrum come to an end and saw Kaapo Kähkönen release the puck, it was under his pad, kind of in between his kneecap and his ankle. At some point, that pad was in the net. I get it. But just because the puck ended up there doesn't mean it was there the whole time. You cannot assume the puck was in. Therefore, that is a no goal. Even though all logic tells you the puck was probably in, it doesn't matter. That is not a goal. That was the wrong call. And I think Dan Evison was correct after the game, asking for a more direct explanation.
Couldn't have said it better myself. You've come around to my side, Kevin. Last night we had dueling opinions. I was of the belief that it was no goal, and I'll tell you why. Because, and I've been debating this point with a guy on Twitter named Lunchbox today, which I try not to debate things on Twitter with people that don't use their real name, but Lunchbox can pack a lunch because he's wrong. And like you said, logic dictates that, that puck very well may have gone in. But what you can't debate is MacKinnon's shot. Kähkönen gets a skate or a pad over there before the puck crosses the line. And we lose all sight of that puck before it crosses the line. Now, did it roll? Did it stick in his pad, which then went into the net? Maybe. It may have. But there's no way to tell that maybe it doesn't deflect up into his knee or into the groin of his pads. We don't know. And if it did do that, then it never crossed the goal line until the 8-second mark of this overhead view that people have been kind of passing around, where some sort of rogue stick. I know Brandon Duhaime is the Wild player, at least that's what people are saying, who's kind of taking his skate and shoving Kähkönen's skate out of the crease. But there's another stick in that comes and pushes Kähkönen's pad back over the goal line. And until after that point is when we finally see what people are saying is the puck, whether, they're saying it's got the Avs logo on it. We've seen all the debates. Michael Russo tweeted this out. It sure looks like the puck. The puck's over the goal line. We don't know for sure, but that comes after his pad is pushed over the goal line with a stick. So we don't know. Again, logic would say probably was in, but we don't know. And when you call it no goal on the ice, which was the call, no goal, and you have no indisputable visual evidence to overturn that call, which is the rule, it has to be no goal, in my estimation. Now, had they called it a goal on the ice, and now the burden of proof is, well, we need to find something that says it's not, I would have had no problem with them calling it a goal at that point. Regardless, the people that are saying it cost the Wild the game, I don't really think that's fair either, because, of course, Minnesota ties the game a minute later, but that was 6-on-5. The only reason it was 6-on-5 at that point is because Minnesota was trailing by a goal. All in all, Kevin, probably the game goes to overtime, probably ends the same way it did anyway. Regardless of where you fall on the scale, it was a great point for Minnesota.
Felt like a win. Yeah, I know the shootout can kind of change who gets the extra point, and the actual result says the Avalanche won, the Wild lost. I disagree. No Act, no Spurgeon, no Brodeen, no Talbot. You go into Colorado, they've won 13 straight in that building, and you walk out not only with a point. The point is one thing in the standings, and in the Wild, they're going to be fine in terms of points. But to me, it's just the way they played. They outshot them 39-38. They played with a depleted roster. They played gritty hockey. And, you mentioned it. Colorado gets that controversial goal on top of a couple other controversial calls that led up to that. And a lot of teams at that point pack it up. And a shift later, Kaprizov is jumping into the glass, into that North Star sweater guy, behind the net.
Great Selly.
It's an awesome Selly. It's just one of the most remarkable I've ever seen. But my point is, these guys really showed something yesterday. And the standings might reflect that Colorado got the extra point, but you're not going to tell me that wasn't a win for the Minnesota Wild. And I think they're going to build off what they did into the weekend here against Chicago. They're going to get some bodies back. And I think they're in position right now to make a real run back at Colorado. Even though they're 6 points down in the standings, I still think the Wild are going to be a factor and have a legitimate chance to win the Central Division before it's all said and done.
Well, there are 2 games left in that season series, Kevin. Both of those will be in St. Paul. The home team has dominated this series of late. So Minnesota will have opportunities over the course of the rest of the season to try and close that gap. Quickly, the fact that Kaprizov understands what that green jersey with the North Stars N, the fact that he knew that was a Minnesota guy. I mean, I know he was celebrating, but that guy was going nuts. And Kaprizov could have bounced into any one of those people in the front. He found that guy, and he went face first into it. Makes you love him even more. This is the Sieve and the Scribe, episode 3. Kevin and I have been yammering on long enough. Let's bring in the star of the show. We're going to talk to Elk River native, former Wild defenseman, newly retired Nate Prosser, right here on Sieve and the Scribe, episode 3, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine. And we'll do that as soon as we hear from our sponsor.
Whether you're an enthusiast or simply pond hockey curious, the Stillwater Fire and Ice Adult Pond Hockey Tournament is for you. From January 28th to the 30th on Stillwater's Lily Lake, your team is guaranteed to play a minimum of 4 games with all skill levels welcome and with parity in mind. Proceeds from the entire weekend of festivities will benefit the Herb Brooks Foundation, which provides free learn to skate and learn to play hockey clinics for kids throughout the local metro area. The Herb Brooks Foundation, the Stillwater Chamber of Commerce, and all the sponsors involved with this event invite you to come to Stillwater for a wonderful winter weekend of fun. For more information, you can register your team. Go to ahahockey.com right now before it's too late.
Welcome back to the Sieve and the Scribe podcast, episode 3. And the next man up needs absolutely no introduction. It's the former Elk River Elk. It's Hockey Day week. We've been talking about it all show long. What better than to have a Hockey Day Minnesota hero, Elk River Elk, Nate Prosser. Pross, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, looking forward to Hockey Day. It's a day I cherish, and love that. I had some good success with it, and I'm looking forward to this one as well.
Yeah, I think you scored like half your career points on Hockey Day, and I know before we get to your big shining moment on Hockey Day, which honestly I can probably speak for Kevin and a lot of people when I say this, is probably maybe my favorite moment in the history of the unofficial hockey holiday. I know hockey players are kind of finicky when it comes to routines and things like that, but on Hockey Day, were you a guy that after morning skate you'd go home and pop on the TV and watch the hockey before going back to the rink at night?
Yeah, it was actually a day I wouldn't nap. I loved turning Fox Sports North on early in the mornings and seeing the broadcast out in whatever city it was, and just seeing all the excitement around the state, and obviously the high school games and then the college games and then our game, just kind of a full day event of just a lot of hockey and outdoor hockey, and it brought up like a lot of old memories for me, being growing up in Elk River, being down at the pit or out by the outdoor rinks next to the ice arena. And that's what always built the excitement for me going into the game that night is, my routine was off, but I just was super pumped up about the state and the excitement that everyone had for that day. And just so happened I was able to score a couple goals and a couple of them, and I think I got an assist in another one. And yeah, a lot of my teammates are always like, why don't you treat every game like it's Hockey Day in Minnesota? I mean, you'd be making millions. I'm like, I don't know. I wish every day was, but excited for this one too.
It's amazing, Pross, because I don't think anybody really had any idea when we put this together, and it was kind of a combo platter. The Minnesota Wild and Fox Sports North at the time kind of tried to think of a way to celebrate our favorite sport here in Minnesota. And I think as it's evolved year by year, and I think Mankato is going to absolutely knock it out of the park this year, but it seems like it's as much about the community that's hosting as it is about the actual event and who's playing. And take us back to just aside from what happened, and we'll get to your heroics in overtime of that Wild game that particular night, but seeing Hanky Pitt, seeing your community where you grew up kind of come together and be on that big stage. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I was able to go out there the day before, 2 days before, and just kind of get a feel, like kind of lay of the land and get a feel for it. And I was so excited for the city. I think they knocked it out of the park. Just that setting down there in the pit is, down a little bowl, and they had the fire pits around and people in the stands in good spots, and just the view of it was just like a dream view. And I mean, like you said, every year it seems to get better and better, and every city that hosts it takes a lot of pride in it, and they want to make it that much cooler every year. And Elk River was a special day, and I got a sense of it even the night before. Just a lot of kids were out skating in the outdoor rinks, and I drove by the arena, and just a lot of excitement around the city was building for this one day. And great day for our city, and I was super excited for Elk River that day.
I think there's a different vibe on Hockey Day, Pross. I mean, would you agree? Inside XL Energy Center, I don't know if it's the fact that people have been hopped up watching hockey all day long, and you get to that 8 o'clock puck drop, and the fans are just jacked. But there is a different vibe inside XL Energy Center every single year on Hockey Day, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure there is. I mean, you feel the buzz even when you're walking it, like driving into the arena that day. It just seems like there's a little bit more excitement. It almost feels like a playoff game, like that kind of excitement, that much intensity. I mean, it's like everyone had an extra Red Bull during the afternoon or something. And I know I always did. I always took an extra one down before that game, but everyone's excitement's at an all-time high because our state is built around hockey, and this is our one special day, and I know everyone's excited for this next one.
Well, you're a Minnesota guy. You ended up playing for Elk River, college hockey at a high level at CC, and then onto the National Hockey League. But how much did taking it outdoors as a little guy factor into the player that you became as a big guy? I hear, players all the time talk about their roots and where they grew up. You mentioned the pit. It's a special place in Elk River. How much outdoor hockey did you grow up playing?
A ton. I mean, I was a rink rat. And that's what kind of what my parents instilled into us is you're going to play outside. I mean, they basically locked us outside. They would drive us out to the pit with a brown bag of lunch. We'd basically be out there from noon on until dinner time. They would come back, as soon as it was dinner time to pick us up. So me and my brother were just out there kind of messing around basically all day, and we'd call up all of our buddies before we'd leave and make sure we had enough guys out there to play some games. And I mean, you build on a lot of things out there. You work edge work, you work on different things that you don't during practices of your association, and you work on flipping the puck and doing back end toe pulls, and you're stick handling with a tennis ball, and just a lot of things that you don't do normally. And I think that's where you gain a lot of your talents. And I always stress that for my kids is let's get out there. Let's go out to our neighbor across the street has a rink. I wish we had one in my backyard, because all my girls are loving it right now, and especially in a couple of these nice days. And it's a great activity for all kids to get out and do. And if you're gonna be a hockey player that wants to continue to play, it's something that I can even tell coaching my 8U girls in Wayzata that you can tell the difference between the girls that have an outdoor rink and the girls that don't, because they have that special stick work and that special shot, and they can stick handle the puck a little bit better. You're like, well, you have an outdoor rink, don't you? And they're like, yeah, we have a pond in our backyard. And it's, just the minor little things, you can pick it up pretty dang quick.
Well, now that you have a little extra free time, I'm sure you will be putting in one of those ODRs at some point here in the future. Now, Pross, we have to ask, 2014, we've hit on a little bit, Elk River hosting Hockey Day. You scored the game-winning goal in overtime, the Elk River native, to cap the day's festivities. Again, one of my favorite moments ever on Hockey Day. The place went absolutely bananas. But I have to know, how are you even on the ice? No offense, Pross. I love you, but how are you even on the ice in 3-on-3? How did that whole kind of thing just kind of come together?
Honestly, I don't know. I had to look back at Rick Wilson, the D coach, and to make sure that he wasn't messing with me. I honestly thought he was messing with me. I remember getting out on the ice and putting the puck in behind the net. Coyle grabbed the puck, went out to meet a rider, and I snuck in, and all the guys were laughing because after the game was over, Spurge was coming up and telling me Rick Wilson was screaming that I basically had a leash on me and with the Wild for a lot of years. Just I was allergic to the offensive zone is what Parisi would say or something, and they're all Rick Wilson. No, don't pinch in, and I just found a little lane to go to the net, and the rebound came out to me, and yeah, I mean that's definitely one of the most special moments of my career. Just because that, I'm sure even a lot of fans are like, "Who scored that?" That had to be Spurge or Dumba or Broads or and then they saw it was me and they're like, "No chance." So it was a special moment for me, especially on that day, and it's something that I'll remember forever and tell my grandkids about someday.
That was magical. It was almost like a scripted movie to see Elk River's own finish that off, because we had talked to you so much leading up to that for obvious reasons. You grew up playing in Hankey Pit, and it was such a magical day on location out in Elk River. As you talked about, it was perfect weather, huge crowd, gorgeous venue. So everything that Elk River dreamed it would be kind of played out before our eyes. We saw fantastic hockey over there. And then here's this Wild game that goes into overtime, and a guy that's never out there in overtime, who's from Elk River, scores the winning goal. I mean, literally, you could not have scripted it any better than that. So I think for you and for your family, I know your family has been a big part of your career as well. And I just remember game after game, I leave the same way that you guys leave, down by the locker room there. Yeah. And there's Mr. Pross, always down by that Zamboni. It brought back memories of when I played, because it was a big deal to have my mom and dad watch me play in college and then into the USHL and then on to St. Thomas. But just to see your family there, being a Minnesota guy, that had to be pretty special.
Yeah. I mean, words can't even put it into a statement how blessed I was to play for the hometown team that long. And my dad was a huge proponent of my career and, how far I got. He was the one guy that kind of never lost faith in me to make it. And I had a lot of haters along the way that said there's no chance, and he was the one that kind of always stood by my side. But yeah, even going back to the overtime winner, usually it gets overtime, and I'm unstrapping my elbow pads and taking my skates off because my feet are getting sore. But that was the one night where I don't know what happened, but Rick Wilson, he must have been watching Hockey Day in Minnesota inside his Elk River that thought there might have been a horseshoe up somewhere, and and he pressed the right button there because got out there and was able to make it happen. But yeah, just going back to playing here, and for college, going to Colorado College, I thought it was important for me just to get away from home and grow up as a man and kind of do that on my own. And then after we were eliminated at CC, I was 24 years old and able to kind of pick where I wanted to go because I was undrafted. It just so happened Minnesota was there, and it was kind of a no-brainer for me to try to get back into Minnesota and to make the Wild, and was able to carve out a nice career here, and just having all my family and friends and cousins and uncles and grandmas and grandpas that be able to come to so many games was so special for me. And it was a wonderful ride, and I'll remember a lot of details of it, but for the most part it's all about the teammates and the friendships that I made.
Between your buddies and some members of your family, those might have been some of the harshest critics you've had over the years. Jokingly, of course. Heard some of those stories. This is the Sieve and the Scribe, episode 3, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine. We're lucky enough to be joined by Nate Prosser today. And Pross, congratulations on just a wonderful career in the NHL, announcing your retirement from the game last week. I know, we talked to so many guys, and you ask guys to reflect on this moment or reflect on that moment, maybe a day or two after it happened. You've now had, I'm sure, a little time to kind of reflect back on your career and just kind of, 30,000 foot view. Now you've had a chance to think back here over the last few days, maybe over the last couple of weeks. What a remarkable run. You want to talk about something that maybe you didn't foresee happening way back when you're at Colorado College or when you're at Elk River. Just kind of take us through kind of some of your thoughts here as you've had a chance to collect those thoughts over the last little bit.
Yeah, you're gonna make me tear up. I've been kind of emotional this last week. Just what the best part is just all my teammates and like trainers and radio guys and just a ton of random people reaching out and saying how much they loved being a part of my path and my career and playing with them and being with them, and just sharing locker room laughs is the best part of my entire career. But yeah, just going back to my Elk River days, I was a late bloomer. I was never a guy that was counted on to score a big goal in peewees and bantams and high school even. So it took me a while to grow up and become a man and kind of grow into my body and get stronger. And so I needed all the steps of my journey. I needed to go to the USHL and be there for 2.5 years and going to college as a 20-year-old freshman and graduate at 24. I needed all those years. A lot of guys nowadays are getting in the NHL at 18, 19, 20, and there was no chance of that for me. Like I could hardly skate backwards through those years. I mean, I needed every year of development and to get stronger and faster and shoot the puck better. And so just kind of looking back now, I'm so thankful for all those years and all those coaches I had and all those teammates. And it was also special. And every step of the way, I all I want to do is make an impact on my teammates and be a light to all those guys. Because I know at the end of the day, hockey's going to come and go. I learned that at an early age. Like you might play JV in Elk River and be done at 18 years old, or you might make a long career and be done at 35, which I was. So I didn't know when it was going to end. So I just wanted to, when I eventually got into pro hockey, I wanted to find a niche and a role. And if it was playing 10, 12 minutes behind Ryan Suter and being on the penalty kill and blocking shots, I was going to be that was going to be my role, and I was going to play it as well as I could. And whether I was in the press box or not, I didn't want anyone to know where I was at, and I wanted to be that positive light to all my teammates. And I hope that along the way I was able to do that, and just getting a lot of support and texts throughout the last few days has been the best part of it.
Well, just watching as we did, Dan and I were on the sidelines watching a lot of your career. You were that guy and beloved by your teammates, coaches. I think Wayne Gretzky once said the most important thing he ever did in the game of hockey, and this guy had 50, 60 records in the record book and all those Stanley Cups. He said the biggest thing he ever did was gain the respect of his teammates and coaches. And you did that, Nate. You did that every day. And I've had a chance to talk to some of your former teammates here in the last week and some of your former coaches, and just the great things they say about you, I think validates what you're saying. I think the hard part for you is going to be adjusting to life without the practices and the plane rides and the dinners, because as you mentioned, the hockey kind of comes and goes, but the relationships are the things you miss. You got 100%. A beautiful family, a wife and kids. What's next for Nate Prosser? Is hockey going to be on the scouting side, coaching side, or broadcasting side a part of your future? What is next in your eyes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm kind of all ears right now with that. But right now, I was out in Philadelphia by myself this last season. So I was out there from January to June, and my wife was here with the 4 kids in Minnesota. And she, it was hard on both of us, obviously. She was giving me calls, weekly, pulling her hair out. The kids were riding her. It got hard. So it was hard on both of us. And all I want to do is get back and take everything off her plate. Take her, drive our kids to school, pick them up, take them to vacation Bible school, take them to practices, be on the ice coaching their stuff. Just all those little things that I was missing, and that I've missed a lot of over the past 11 years being in pro hockey. Kids need your time, and I love that I'm able to give them all my time right now and just be a part of their lives. I can tell like their personalities are changing over the last few months, just being around and being able to take them to the outdoor rinks, and they're begging for me to coach them in hockey and basketball. Well, I don't know anything about basketball, so I can't coach you basketball, but I can get on the ice with you and coach your U8 teams. But I still have a love and a passion for the game. I still I helped Wayzata captain's practices, the varsity team. So I got to know a few of the guys. I've been going to a few of their games, and I've gone to Elk River high school hockey games. I still have that kind of the love and the drive in me to give back to the game. And I would love to stay involved somewhere or another, maybe scouting, player development, whatever it might be. I feel like I still have a lot to give to especially young defensemen or young players that are trying to find their way. I think I could build a lot of kids up and help them get there. Just the journey that I had to take. It wasn't a normal one where you're kind of the blue chip and you're the first or second rounder and you kind of know they're going to make it. I had to fight, claw my way to every year that I was able to play. And, I think that could help a lot of kids, and I could give them a lot of advice.
All right, Pross, we have one guy on this call here who is a proud dude, DOOD, a dad of only daughters. I know you are in that club as well. What is your favorite part about spending a lot more time now with all those ladies you have running around your house?
Yeah, I mean, my house is straight pink and sparkles and princess dresses. So, just kind of steering them away from that as they get older, because they're very athletic girls. I want to kind of, push them a little bit. Not, there's a line where you don't want to push them, away from the sport. I definitely see parents have done that in the past where you can push your kids away, but I want to push them to, become athletes and be the best basketball player they can be, or be the best hockey or soccer player. I would love them to be in a team sport and there's just so much to learn. Being a part of a team, losing together, winning together, working together, being a team player, and yeah, just right now, I just take them outdoor rinks, take them to their basketball practices, to their hockey practices. They love having me on the ice with them. So just trying to herd cattle out on the ice a little bit, because they're at the ages where I'm not teaching them a whole heck of a lot. It's just more about trying to instill a work ethic in them, and hopefully they can have some kind of work ethic that I had, and just the normal daddy stuff. Just we're a lot of sports in the winter, and then the summer we have a lot of time together to swim or go to cabin, or just be around each other, and that's what we like doing.
The most important question, though, if you're going to really teach the daughters all the tricks, is when do you sit them down and tell them about Hold'em? Because the Wild charter planes have not been the same since we lost Devin Dubnyk and Nate Prosser. There were a lot of others that we talked about before we actually came on the air today, Prosser.
Yeah.
Alex Stalock is another one.
Good example. Yeah. But the lessons you can learn from Texas Hold'em, it gets into math, it gets into everything for kids that they're going to need when they get out on their own.
Yeah. No, I'm a big card guy. I still get together with like neighbors or old Elk River buddies, and we deal the cards around. But those are definitely the memories I'm gonna remember the most. There's Chris Stewart and Doobie, and even all the way back to like Matt Cook and Danny Heatley and Torrey Mitchell, and like those days. And there was some wild card games where it got out of hand, but those are some fun times. Yeah, I'm trying to teach my girls, just we play a lot of board games, and I'll teach them some Hold'em someday. But I enjoy watching hockey so much. I heard my daughter made a bet on the Wild. She said the Wild are going to win. And I'm like, well, how much did you bet? And she's like, oh, I bet this other guy $10 in our class. I'm like, well, you can't really be doing that. And she's like, well, it's easy money. Instead of, shoveling someone's driveway, I can, win someone's money betting for the Wild. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't know if we should be doing that, but no, it's
we should absolutely be doing that. That's good stuff. Well, Kevin and I are very proud. We're very proud father-like figures right now hearing this story.
Yeah. Well, make sure we're playing Arizona when she makes that bet, and not Colorado, and then we'll be just fine.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember the game. I think it's when they won 7-3. Was that just like a
Anaheim
game?
Yep.
Yeah, Anaheim. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, at least she
knows what she's doing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she was around the locker room long enough. She knew what time it was a good bet. So yeah.
One of the only games of the old horse game that I got invited into.
Oh yeah.
Kevin, I don't know if you might have been there early on that night. I believe we were in Anaheim, right?
Yep.
And we had like 2 tables of the horses going. That one lasted late into the night. I think I might have gotten into the pockets of a couple guys, but you're not kidding, Pros. Like that's $2 at a time is big money when you're normally playing here at home with the guys in the neighborhood for like 10 cents a coin. Now all of a sudden it's $2, but it's a good time.
It gets rowdy too. I remember one specific time we just lost, maybe got beat up like 4-1, maybe up in Winnipeg or something like that. We got in the plane and we got that horse racing out, and it got so rowdy. We're all like, oh, shoot, we lost tonight. We probably shouldn't be so loud, but it's the nature of that game. It's a loud, crazy game, and we also played some cribbage too. I mean, there was a lot of games on those planes that were a good time.
Couple more to close here with Nate Prosser on the Sieve and the Scribe podcast, episode 3, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine. Prosser, there may be a kid listening to this right now who plays hockey. Maybe he's a peewee, maybe he's a bantam, maybe he's in high school, who wants to one day get to the NHL. Maybe he's not the most skilled or talented kid on his team, but he has that dream. What would be your advice to someone like that to continue advancing in their career, whether that's going to high school, whether that's going to college, going to junior hockey? I would assume being a good teammate as you were, as kind
For
of
sure.
step number one in that process, right?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, find a role. I mean, if you're going to be a third or fourth line guy, play it as well as you can. If you're going to be a first line, goal scorer, playmaker, well, you better score some goals and make some plays and, have a work ethic. You got to work at your talents away from the rink. And if it's shooting pucks, if it's sticking on a golf ball in the garage, if it's doing sprints out on, in the summer or, working out a little bit more, a little bit harder. Because there's so many years to develop. I've had people, parents reaching out to me, saying their kid made B Pee-wee or B Bantam, and what should I tell them? What are some advice? I'm like, they got so many years to develop still, where there's a magic period between when kids hit puberty to manhood, where there's a lot of developing there, and you don't even want the best 12-year-old in the state. Let's talk when your kid gets to 18. Let's see if he's the one of the better kids in the state at that time. So there's so many years to develop, and I would just say make sure you have that work ethic and have that excitement of doing that. Because when I was doing it, I loved going to the rink and shooting pucks. I loved after high school was over, going over to the gym and getting a workout in before we went out and played beach volleyball or whatever it was. You put in that work and you never know what's going to happen, because there's, like I said, I'll keep saying it time and time again, there's a lot of years to develop. I didn't start developing until I was a senior in high school. So between the ages of 19 and 24, I mean, those are some magical years for a lot of people to, keep building your game and keep getting stronger and faster. I mean, the game is so much involved around speed now. So maybe it's doing more plyometrics and doing ladder work and sprints when, all your buddies are going to do something else. That, you gotta, work harder than the guy next to you.
And I guess last question for you, Pross, would be, I know you watch a lot of hockey when you get some spare time. Do you watch it from the perspective of, if I were out there, this is how I would be defending it, or I would be coaching it? There are so many unbelievably talented players in this league right now. Dan and I just got done working in Denver yesterday, and there's Cale Makar, who might be the best defenseman in the world. There's Kirill Kaprizov, who's, in my opinion, the best player to ever wear a Wild sweater, and it's not up for debate for me. But do you find yourself now being just a fan of the game, or do you still have that mechanism where you want to put yourself on the ice and this is how I would defend this play, this is how I would do it if I were coaching?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of both, just because it's still new to me that I'm done. I just got done in last June. So I was in the NHL, 10 months ago, playing for the Flyers. So it wasn't that long ago, but the game just continues to go that route where, I mean, you see these Makars and these Kaprizovs and these kids getting in younger, and they're fast and dynamic and skilled. And I mean, even the play where that guy flipped it over the net, the Ducks guy, and they batted it in out of the air. Like, I mean, that never happened when I first got in the NHL. I mean, there was two lines of just role players that we call them the meat lines, and those lines are gone now. I mean, there's 4 lines that can put pucks in the net nowadays, and every team's got so much depth, and even guys in the minors. I mean, when I was in the minors and Iowa or Lehigh Valley, it's such a fine line, because all those guys all have what it takes on the ice to get there. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to even see high school games nowadays. The speed out there, these kids can all skate like the wind and shoot the puck hard and make plays. And so I like to watch it from, obviously, what would I have done different a little bit, not a ton of that, but now it's kind of more, coaching and helping a guy along. If I watch a high school player and I have a neighbor kid that plays for Wise, that I try to text him some advice and just try to build him up and get him in the right mental space to go into the next game. Maybe he's down a little bit, or coach didn't play him as much. Just to that was me. That was my role. So I feel like I can spit some knowledge at him and try to help him play Minnetonka the next night.
Nate Prosser, you are an all-time beauty. Thank you for joining us today. I want to let you know too, Kevin and I, we are starting fantasy golf this week. So if you have any daughters that would like to join up, we would be proud to send them the link. And when they get the cell phones, I'm sure the cell phones aren't too far in the future. If they aren't already there, just make sure the DraftKings app
that off.
always got, 20, 30 bucks in there for a little fantasy football action. In all seriousness though, Nate, it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure to watch you and be around you. You have brought that light to so many of us pigeons that, we're blessed enough to be able to watch you and do your craft over the years. Thank you so much for taking a little time today on the Sieve and the Scribe.
Thank you, guys. And I enjoyed seeing you guys every day and being around you guys. I mean, honestly, it's guys like you that made my journey so much fun. And it's you guys, it's my teammates, it's everything. It's the trainers. So many good people along the way, and I'm happy to call you guys my friends. And thanks for having me on here.
What a guy! Really a pleasure to be around you and see you play, Nate. I'm just really proud to say you're a Minnesota guy and a member of that fraternity that played for the Minnesota Wild. It was an honor to watch you go about your business on a daily basis. And look forward to seeing you at rinks all over the state here in the coming years, and find out where you go next, because whatever you do, I know you're going to be a success.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Corgi. And thanks for having me down. It was a fun time, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
It's the Sieve and the Scribe, episode 3, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine. Our thanks again to Nate Prosser, for Kevin Gorg, for myself, Dan Myers, for our esteemed producer, Zach Halverson. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully, potentially, from Mankato, the site of Hockey Day Minnesota, Hockey Day Minnesota 2022 in Mankato. We'll talk to you then.
Dave's Sports Shop in Fridley, Minnesota, the top hockey shop in the North Metro since 1969. Specializing in custom fit hockey gear, top quality skate sharpening. We've got a full lineup: CCM, Bauer, Sherwood, True, Vaughn, and many more. We also offer used and new skates. We'll take those old skates in on trade for your new skates. Dave's Sports Shop, where the winners shop. Come find out why. Mention this ad to get your free skate sharpening.